Hello, this is Berni and welcome to the first of a new series of videos that I've made about IELTS, and in particular about getting IELTS scores of band 7 and above. I want to talk today about the best time to book your test, and in particular I'm addressing this to people who've taken the test a lot of times, and I know many of my students have taken the test at least 3, 4, and sometimes as many as 20 times. And each time you take the test, it gets a little bit more difficult, and a lot of students get themselves onto a treadmill. And when that happens, they tend to start panicking a little before the exam. They tend to get a little bit worried about the exam, and a lot of them get quite scared about taking the exam again. And this is understandable, because you may have gone in with a great deal of confidence the first time and expected to do very well and get the results you want. And if you don't, then it's bound to knock your confidence. What happens to some students is that they just keep booking the test over and over, and that's also not a good strategy. So I want to look at what are the factors that make you feel afraid to take the test, and what you should do to make sure that when you take the test, whether you've taken it once, twice, or 20 times, you can get back your confidence so that the next time you go in to take the test, you'll be completely ready, and hopefully you're going to get the score that you want. Okay, there are lots of things that you can do and that you can learn from your test result. And I want to go through those and give you some help with how to prepare yourself well to take the test. And I've got a few slides here, so I'll just share these with you and then we'll get started. So if you're one of these students, and I see many and listen to many students who feel like this, who are afraid to book another test, then this is ideal for you. Even if you're not afraid to take the test, even if you're contemplating another test, but you're not sure how to improve your skills, then you can learn in this video how the best way to do that, so that the next test you go to, you will go in well prepared. Okay. So the first thing you need to do between tests is to improve your IELTS skills. Your test results tell you something. If you haven't got 7 in your writing, it tells you that you need to improve your writing. If you haven't got 7 in your listening, it tells you that there are still things that you might need to do in your listening. So the first thing you should do is analyze your test results. Now, one thing that it's good to do, and I would do this maybe a few days after you've got the result, allow that disappointment to filter away. If you're disappointed, feel that disappointment. You know, you're right to feel disappointed. But then when you've got over it after a few days, sit down and think about the test. What happened in the test? Was there something that you didn't do that you should have done? Or was there something that you did do that you shouldn't have done? Or was there something that happened to distract you? Go through each part of the test and see if you can see whether there's any external reason, firstly, for doing it. Because even if something happened, like there was a strange noise in the middle of the listening, that's important. You need to learn how to not be distracted. If there were things that you know you did wrongly or things you forgot to do, those are all things that you need to be careful of the next time. If you feel that you did the test well, and you're very surprised at your result because you were expecting something different, then you need to look at where the scores come out, because maybe you were over-optimistic about something, or maybe you've got something a little bit wrong, or whatever. If you were absolutely certain you deserved the 7, then you need to consider a remark. But I would only consider a remark if you've dropped a band in one part of the test and if it's the part of the test where you really felt that you had got the score that you wanted. Remarks take time and are expensive, and most of them do not change the score. So you've got to be really, really sure that the mark is wrong. Okay, so focus on the areas where you dropped a band or where your band didn't quite meet the score first. So if it's reading, be realistic. In your reading practice, were there any areas that you kept getting mistakes, or any areas that you were a bit shaky about? Think about all of the places where you know, and you're the only one who can do this, where you know that you need to improve. The only area where you probably will need more external help might be in the writing, because a lot of students tell me their writing is band 7, and yet when I look at it, there are mistakes that they do not realize they are making. So if it's writing, I would suggest you maybe get somebody to check your writing before you do another test. Don't just keep going through the Cambridge books. I know we all like to use the Cambridge books. I use them myself with students. Don't just keep going through them one after another. If you keep doing that, you're just doing the same thing. You need to actually analyze the areas where you're losing points. I'm sorry, that's my phone. It will stop in a minute. You need to analyze those areas. So just doing a test over and over is like being a hamster in a wheel, going round and round and round. It's quite possible that just doing the test is not going to help you, and you need to do something else. So the IELTS tests over and over are not the answer, not always. You might need to go outside of the test. If you've got some grammar issues, you probably need to revisit the grammar and get out a grammar book or find a good grammar online so you can look at that point and improve it and make sure you don't make that mistake. If your problem is vocabulary, you may need to go and learn some vocabulary. If your listening or reading is not quite up to the mark, then you may need to go and do some more reading or some more listening. But whatever it is, don't just keep doing the Cambridge IELTS books or any other IELTS tests. Go and fix what's wrong, and then come back and do the tests, and hopefully you'll see that your scores have improved. When I was teaching in colleges and universities, we never used the IELTS tests or any exam test until about 2 or 3 weeks before the exam. All of the rest of the work was on skills. Okay, and if you keep doing the same things, this means you'll keep getting the same results. I was speaking to a student this morning who's taken the test 10 times, and in each of the 10 tests, they got the same result. That means that the same things is producing the same results. So that particular student has become an expert at these results. And so they're sticking where they are. They're not improving because the same things are getting done for the practice. If you're getting the same results, you have to do something different. Okay, so this follows on from what I said before. Don't use the test as your IELTS practice. You have to do something different in between the tests that you take. And hopefully you won't need to take more than 2 tests. If you don't get the score the first time and you work on the skills and you do good practice, you should get it the second time. You have to learn from your mistakes, you have to learn from results, and you have to improve those areas. And this can take time, especially in something like writing. So don't be too impatient. You need that time to improve your skills. Doing lots and lots of tests is also quite expensive. And if you're not certain that you're going to get your score, then that amount of money that you pay is open-ended. It just keeps going on and on. So you've no idea eventually how much it's going to cost you. Analyze your result. Where do you need to work? Is it listening? Is it reading? Is it writing? Get the information or the help that you need and work on those areas before you book another test. And don't book the test until you're absolutely certain that those areas have improved. If you haven't got a test record, then you probably don't have this problem, because this problem of fear really comes when you've taken the test quite a few times. So if you haven't taken the test before, then probably you're feeling quite confident. However, there are some people who do practice tests or assessment center tests, and they can sometimes get this fear of the real test because of the results they've got there. In this case, all of this also applies to you. And remember, taking too many tests can erode your confidence. And not only that, I have seen many, many students who have taken test after test. I've had students who book 6 tests all at once, one every month. And I have seen their scores not get better, but get worse, go from 7 down to 6, and that's absolutely to do with lack of confidence. So booking a lot of tests can sometimes be counterproductive. Don't book the test too soon. So don't decide when you get your result that you're going to take it in another month or another 6 weeks. Give yourself some space, give yourself a break, spend some time on your skills, doing some reading, doing some listening, go outside of the IELTS, listen to some podcasts, listen to some news broadcasts, read some books. And then when you feel as though your skills have improved a bit, then you can think again about a test date. It should be part of your overall strategy. So if you book the test first and then do the study, you're kind of getting things the wrong way around. You should be booking a test at the end of the process, not at the beginning. Don't book it until you feel ready. It doesn't matter how much pressure you get. If you have a deadline for submitting an IELTS for the university, if you're not ready, you won't get that score. And that then will make it, the whole thing a disappointment. So if you want to go to university and you need, say, 7 in everything, you need to start your preparation, giving you enough time to get that 7 before the deadline. So make sure that before you decide on a university course and a year to enter, you build in your IELTS and make sure that you have enough time to prepare before the deadline. So don't put the cart before the horse is the idiom that we use. The test is expensive, and booking lots of tests will cost a lot of money, and it will be a waste of money if you're not ready. So isn't it better to use some of that money and some of that time to prepare well, make sure that you get the right skills and that you are confident when you go into the exam that you can get the band that you want. And finally, be realistic. If you're asked for 7.5 and your score is 5.5, you cannot improve that in a month. That is going to take weeks of study. So there is no point in booking a test 1 month after the one you've just taken if your scores are around 1 band or 2 bands below where you need to be. You have to be realistic. So think about where you are, think about what's possible, and then plan your test as part of your overall study plan. And then when you go into your next exam, you will be confident, and with the following wind, you should be able to get the score that you need. So realism is the main thing to take on board. Okay, that's all I have to say on this. I have written an article which gives you more information on this topic, and you can find that article on my website, IELTS Learning Tips, and there's a link at the end of this video follow to get to that article. And the website also has other things that will help you with your IELTS. So I hope you'll go across there and have a look around and see some of the materials I've put on there that are going to help you to get your IELTS exam. So thank you, and I hope this is going to be useful, and I'll see you in the next video.